They have to report these trades publicly. I don't like it any more than you do, but you can buy the same stock. This is, in my opinion, the best loophole for the everyday investor to increase the returns and just make more money.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I gotta pivot real quick because this is something that I've been talking about and I'm never gonna let it go. Screw these people for taking advantage of the stock market and then they leaving us out to dry. Y'all all know what I'm talking about. You got people that are in Congress right now that know when to buy and sell to make a maximum amount of money because they have insider information. And I have to jump into this. I have my good friend here, Ross Givens. He's a 20-year veteran of the stock market. He was a broker, fund manager, and vice president of investment management at JP Morgan. Also, Ross is holding a free event live training on Wednesday, August the 5th. At 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Link will be in the description section, or you can scan the QR code. Also, you can visit www.insidertradingtruth.com to reserve your spot. But let me bring in Ross real quick. Ross, we spoke about this before, but I'm never going to let these people get away with this. Can you talk to us about the new developments? Because I think that there was a bill that was introduced in order to stop or prevent Congress members from insider trading, or at least to I would say obstruct them from doing it on a consistent basis. What has transpired?
Well, there is one. It's not the first and it won't be the last, but it's not going to pass. So the current bill, which would ban members of Congress from owning individual stocks, passed the House. It's not going through the Senate. And this is not the first one we've seen. There's been 3, 4, 5 of these over the year that all come and all fall apart right at the end. And generally the tactic they use to do this is to attach something else to that bill they know the other side is not going to approve. And, it's easy for these guys to go on TV and do their sound bites and I'm against insider trading and it should be banned. If they really felt that way, they'd get together on a Wednesday, draft a bill and sign it. They've never done that. They're not going to because they're making too much money off these trades. You just pointed out.
Yeah, and it's almost similar to, where you put into place that they have term limits. But the problem is the people that are voting against their own term limits are the people that vote on it. I mean, the people that can change it are the people that vote on it. The same thing with insider trading. Like the people that can stop them from insider trading are the individuals that have to vote on it. And clearly you can look at it in history that they've never come to a real solution on easily preventing them from going out here, having information, turning it into evidence that they use in the stock market to trade. But I say this, Ross, and I think in all fairness, we know that it's never going to change. They're never going to do anything about it. So I almost think that if you can't beat them, you might as well watch what they're doing so you can make a lot of money.
Yeah, that's the only silver lining to all this. It's like everyone knows they're doing it, and you can look at their returns. I mean, I'll show you. I've got graphics going to look at them. Like they vastly outperform, not just you and me, but the whole market. There's members of Congress that beat every hedge fund on Wall Street. The odds of that are just almost impossible. But the silver lining is they have to report these trades publicly. I don't like it any more than you do, but you can buy the same stock. So the whole thing about investing in the market is getting some kind of an advantage. Either you've got some unique insight, you saw the AI bubble coming, for example, you knew that NVIDIA and you bought in early and made 20 times your money. That would be an edge. The edge Congress has is just informational, right? So they're sitting on defense committees and know about big DoD contracts going out. They know about pieces of legislation that are going to help entire industries and stocks. They know when Trump's going to take a 10% equity stake in one of these companies and the thing's going to double. And so they have access to information that gives them an edge. And as we've seen for decades, they routinely use it. But the one bill that was passed about this is called the Stock Act back in like 2012, I think. And that one required them to disclose these trades. So they have to file these forms when they buy or sell an individual stock, and we can see what they buy, and we can follow along. So all we're doing is letting them tip us off to these opportunities. And it's why I'm holding this training event this coming Wednesday, is to show people where this stuff is. It's a free database online. Anyone can see it. It's just run by the government, so it's not efficient and it's not easy to use, but it can be used, and following these trades could have made you a lot of money. There's hundreds of millions of dollars in these programs that just blind follow congressional trades. If you look at that, pull up that graphic, if you would, of the Congress buys strategy. All this does is blindly buy stocks that members of Congress are buying and sell when they're selling. The green line is the Congress return. The white on the bottom is the general stock market, which has had a phenomenal 5-year run, and they drastically outperform as a whole, right? So this is, in my opinion, the best loophole for the everyday investor to increase the returns and just make more money.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. I always preach, to people to diversify how they invest. Obviously S&P 500. If you want to play it safe, but people are out here looking for opportunities, like you said, to get ahead of certain things. To, I would say, to try to find ways to invest in certain circumstances where you can get an edge or hedge on it and probably make some money on it. No guarantee, but
Sure.
it's definitely something to look into. And so, can you talk to me a little bit about the training? Because I think the people that are watching this that are interested in this topic, they may want to know or have an opportunity to say, okay, should I go to the training? What am I going to learn in this training, and how could it benefit me?
Yeah, so like you said, everyone knows this is going on. Would Pelosi make $300 million doing this stuff while she was in office? They're all doing it. We all know it happens. But the hard thing is, what do I follow, right? So I showed you that graphic to show you that overall, they vastly outperform. Doesn't mean every single stock they pick is going to double by Thursday. But overall, their picks are going to do much better than the market because of that advantage. And so how do we know what to look for? And the biggest opportunities, I only know this because we've been doing this for over a decade, the best opportunities are generally very, very obvious, right? And so I kind of show people how to take what can be an overwhelming amount of information and just whittle it down to 3 or 4 that look like real no-brainers. So I'll give you an example. There's someone in the House named Susie Lee. And she, unlike a lot of the others, unlike Pelosi, does not trade stock a lot. She almost never buys anything. She hadn't bought a single stock in 3 years. And then suddenly she makes a trade, and it was filed on that PTR report. I think I sent that over to you. And the stock she bought, Brandon, after buying nothing for 3 years, was Rheinmetall, which is a German arms manufacturer. Now, I don't know about you, but if I'm going to buy one stock every 3 years, it's going to be the index or Apple or Nvidia or right? Not Rheinmetall. Well, she happens to sit on the defense subcommittee, which is the one who decides where the defense spending goes. And look at this. I mean, is there one stock in 3, and it quadruples in like, what is that, 8, 9, 10 months? So we look for these outliers where either somebody rarely buys than they are now, or 8, 10, 12 members of a certain a committee or whatever are piling into one stock. We can even do this for corporate insiders. You think the politician pool's big? Think about what CEOs and CFOs and board members of these Fortune 500 companies know. Like, if the CFO is buying before the earnings report, he's the guy that filled out the damn earnings report, Brad. He knows exactly what the numbers are, right? They know about mergers. They know about buyouts. They know about drug trials and all kinds of stuff. And so what we show people how to do is just filter out the noise, right? Find these ones where no one of this company's bought in 6 or 7 years and 8 of them bought last week. Or here's a member of Congress who never buys stocks and she just went ham on this little, off the radar arms manufacturer. It lines up with their committee. Or 8 of these guys with great track records are all piling into this one stock. Or they're buying call options and they're leveraging up. They're making a big, high risk, all or nothing trade. And when you follow these, I found that your results get dramatically better. And like you said, no guarantees. Anything can happen at any one pick, but the numbers are just overwhelming. And so I don't know. Look, we're paying their salaries. I don't like what they're doing any more than you are, but they might as well tip us off to what they know, and they do that with these trade disclosures.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, Ross, is that I find it to not be any respective party. I've seen videos of Republicans doing it. I see Democrats doing it. These people are taking advantage of it. I mean, people are accusing the president of doing it, and I'm not saying that he is or isn't, but I think that people are alluding to the fact that some people know things they don't know. And I would continue it with this, is that why not take advantage of knowledge that they know that you don't know? One thing that I thought was crucial that you said, that I thought was really important, is that to know the earnings report, to understand some of the logistics, the CEO who knows the CEO of a company that's being launched. I had a person tell me something that I thought was incredible, but you would only notice if you knew the people, right? So
Yeah.
the person pretty much told me, hey, this is a new company coming out. I know the CEO, I know the investors, and this is going to be big. And the average person would not know that if you saw it on the
Yeah.
S&P 500, or not the S&P 500, but if you saw it in the stock market, you wouldn't
Right.
necessarily know that. You don't know what their background is. Nobody's researching that. But these people who are in this insider trading, these politicians, they know this stuff. They either know them because they met them, talked to them, or they know them because they are on the committee that's funding, or, whatever the
That's
case may
right.
be.
Yeah, no, 100%. And like, take a corporate executive, right? It's like, yeah, the sales show up 45 days later in the earnings report, but they're seeing them come in every day. They know how many people are calling to order. Like, all the cybersecurity stocks have soared the last few months because every company in America is calling them, going, we've been hearing about this open AI that broke out and ran, we're hearing about the quantum computing hacking. So they know all this stuff long before it shows up down the line when the rest of us see it. And, you mentioned Trump. Listen, I voted for Trump 3 times. Okay. I do not think he's inside. The man's worth billions. He's not going to risk everything to make a couple $1 million on a little stock here and here. But I'm not naive enough to think that some of the people around him are not doing this. And one of the biggest pieces of truth that, ironically, I didn't mean that. Well, you'll see what I mean. But one of the biggest pieces of proof of the value of this insider information, Truth Social just made the news about a week and a half ago over their plan to launch an API to banks and investment shops for $100,000 a month. So what they're
Wow.
offering is, we're going to give you a direct line to Trump and the White House, like the top 10 Truth Social accounts. You'll get them immediately. This doesn't mean 20 minutes early. It means like literally maybe a second before it shows up on the Truth Social feed. And some people, the Dems, looked at that and said, oh, here's Trump trying to cash in insider trading. No, he's not running the day-to-day of Trump Social, right? But look at a chart of DJT, the company that owns Truth Social. They've been getting murdered. They're a publicly traded company. They're trying to come up with ways to make profits. And so they're offering this. And the fact that banks would pay $100,000 a month to get the truth posts from Trump and the White House a millisecond faster than anybody else is proof of the value of this information. And, we've seen a lot of this stuff when Trump's escalated things with Iran a year ago, when China was escalating the trade wars, all this stuff around the Strait of Hormuz, it's open, it's closed, etc. If you knew that 20 seconds before it hit CNBC, some of these guys would load in on oil futures or the stocks being mentioned and make a lot of money. So it has never been more of a news-driven market. There's never been a time in history where information, even rumors information, moves stock prices this much, this quickly. And so I would argue that this information and what these politicians and corporate insiders are buying is more valuable than it ever has been. So I encourage people to come to this training event. It's free. It's online. It doesn't cost you anything. I'll show you how all this works. We do have a paid service. We do this for our members if you want to take it a step further. But I show people everything. In fact, everyone who registers, I'm even going to send you the most recent insider trade report. You'll see the stock, the insiders buying. When you see what's available to you and the edge you can gain, it is truly eye-opening.
Yeah, thank you, Ross, for saying that. I love that you mentioned it, because it's better to do it this way than do it illegally and go to jail like some other people have.
Yeah.
That military guy, which I don't, everybody got their own life. I don't really blame him for what he
Yeah.
did, but you could see that he had insider information that, look, we're getting ready to do this, and he placed a bet that we would capture Maduro or something like that, and that's what he did. But the unique
Yeah.
thing that you are offering, or that you're saying, is that when that guy does that, you can see
see.
what he did and
right.
follow that without you being involved in some type of insider trading. So I appreciate you, Ross. Again, ladies and gentlemen, on Wednesday, August the 5th at 3 p.m., a free event. We'll put the link in the description section, or you can scan that QR code, or you guys can go and visit www.insidertradingtruth.com to reserve a spot, and it's absolutely free. So Ross, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you coming on. Every time I talk about this topic, I gotta talk to you about it because I feel like you're the one person out here that's kind of like in the wilderness trying to wake people up to saying, look, these opportunities are here. You should take advantage of it.
Yeah, and look, it's there, right? And nothing that we're doing is illegal. I mean, it's coming from a federal website. It's like as legal as it gets. And it's not even unethical, right? All you're doing is following. You don't know any information. You know that these people who historically have done very well in the market are buying a given stock or buying a given asset, and you're using that for your information. So I appreciate you having me on. Always loved your channel. Great talking to you again, Brandon. And for everybody else, I look forward to seeing you guys on Wednesday.
All right. Thank you, Ross. Appreciate it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you're paying for it anyway. Your tax dollars is going to what they doing. You might as well, you paying them to show you the thing. So you either take advantage of it or not.